Good day, sir. Now I'm going to discuss what is financial statement for small and medium-sized entities. So, according to the International Accounting Standard Boards, small and medium-sized entities daw is yung first, do not public accountability. So, ibig sabihin, hindi nila pinapublicly yung shares and hindi rin sila nag-holds ng funds from the public. Ganun lang. Then, yung second is publish general purpose financial statement for external users. So, basically, yung financial statement daw is ginagawa lang for the external user. So, like, sa organization or yung mismong entities na yon is ginagamit lang nila yung financial statement for the decision making and for some other reason like tax purposes. So, let's tackle naman sa public accountability. So, ang entities is publicly accountable if first, yung debt and equity instrument nila is tinitrade sa public. Example nito is yung mga entities na nakalist sa PSE or sa Philippine Stock Exchange. So, next naman is the entity issued debt or equity instrument for trading in public such as domestic or foreign stock exchange, the over-the-counter market, and the local and regional market. So, dito naman, yung entities is publicly accountable pag nag-i-issue sila ng debt or equity instrument. Parang pareho lang to sa una na traded through public. Ang pinagkaiba lang, ini-issue dito. While yung first is tinitrade. Then, C is the entity holds asset is fiduciary capacity for board group of outsider as its primary business. So, meaning lang nun is yung entities is nagmamanage or nagkikip ng money for the public. Ang mga example ng publicly accountable is first, yung banks, credit unions, and insurance company, and etc. So, sa definition naman ng SEC about CME, ito daw ay CME if meron silang total asset na around 3 million to 350 million or kaya naman meron silang total liabilities na 3 million to 250 million. So, next is, hindi daw sila required na mag-file ng financial statement sa under SEC rule na 68.1. So, ibig sabihin, hindi sila listed company and hindi sila yung company na merong 50 million or more asset na merong 200 or more shareholders na merong at least 100 share each. Next is not applying to sell shares or debt in public. Ibig sabihin, yung company is not preparing for publicly traded and any financial instrument. Number 4 is not hold a secondary license. So, ibig sabihin lang naman nun is hindi sila bank or insurance company or mutual funds na nag-hold ng funds para sa mga investors. So, next is that public utility. Ibig sabihin, this includes sa mga company na nagpo-provide ng essential public service. For example, like electricity and water. So, yun yung definition ng CME according sa Security Exchange Commission. Sa micro-business entities naman, yung micro-business entities is yung very small entities or company na merong total asset or total liabilities na below 3 million. So, yung micro-business entities is meron silang 3 options na pwedeng gamitin sa pag-prepare nila ng accounting of financial statement. So, una is yung full PFRS, meaning yung buong Philippine Accounting Standards, which is masyadong broad para sa mga small entities. Then next is yung PFRS for SMEs. So dito naman is yung simpler version ng PFRS, meaning design talaga siya for small and medium size entity. Then next is yung other acceptable basis for accounting. So dito naman yung any accounting framework na allowed ng SEC is ina-accept din. For example is yung income tax basis. So in simple term, yung micro business entities is very small business na merong 3 million asset or liability, na merong freedom to choose kung ano yung gagamitin nilang accounting policy or standards. Sa exemption naman tayo ng PFRS for small and medium entities. So exempted daw ang mga company or entities kahit na-meet nila yung criteria para sa SME. So pag na-meet nila yung mga situation na kahit sa alin sa mga to. First is yung company is subsidiary of parent that use full PFRS. Next is the company is subsidiary of foreign parent that plans to shift to full IFRS. Number 3, the company is subsidiary of foreign parents that currently use non-publicly accountable standard but will later move to full PFRS or IFRS. Number 4, the company expect to grow beyond SME size soon. Number 5, the company is part of group as major joint venture or associate that report under full PFRS. So, number 6, the company is branch of foreign entities that report under full IFRS. Number 7, the plans to conduct initial public offering within the 2 years. Number 8, the company has subsidiary that requires to use full PFRS. The number 9, the company already uses full PFRS and preparing liquidation for their assets. So, yun yung mga exemption para sa companies or entities na mag-prepare ng PFRS for small medium size entity. So, tackle naman natin yung comparison ng full PFRS versus sa PFRS for small and medium entities. So, sa financial statement presentation, number 1, non-presentation of additional balance sheet. So, pag full PFRS is required sila na mag-add ng additional financial position at the beginning of proceeding period. While yung PFRS for small and medium-sized entities is hindi sila required na mag-add ng another financial position. So, only ipe-present nila is yung current year and the previous year if may pagbabago sa past period nila. Next naman is option not to present statement of comprehensive income. So, pag full PFRS under past 1, required sila mag-present ng other comprehensive income for general purpose of financial statement. So, it can be a single statement or one of component of statement presentation. So, while pag PFRS naman for small medium entities, SME is hindi sila required na mag-present ng other comprehensive income if wala naman talaga. So, it can be simplified sa pag-present nila ng income statement or sa bottom line ng profit or loss. Sa recognition naman of revenue from contract with customer. So, pag full PFRS, gumagamit sila ng detailed 5-step model when recognizing revenue. First is, ina-identify nila yung contract. Then, next is, identify naman nila yung performance obligation. After nila ma-identify yung performance obligation is, i-determine naman yung transaction price. Then, after nun is, i-allocate yung price performance obligation. So, lastly is, i-recognize na yung revenue when obligation is satisfied. While pag PFRS naman, for small and medium entities, gumagamit lang sila ng simple rule for revenue recognition. Example nito is yung significant risk and reward of ownership is itina-transfer sa customer. So, hindi siya gaano ka-complicated and na-check nila yung control and napapas yung risk sa buyer. Sa component naman ng other comprehensive income, pag full PFRS, yung mga items under sa OCI is included. First is yung revaluation surplus, then unrealized gain or loss for fair value. Tapos 3, remeasurement of net defined benefit liability or asset. Then number 4 is yung gains and loss arising from translating the financial statement of foreign operations. Then lastly is effective portion of gain and loss on hedging and instrument cash flows hedge. Then yung changes in credit risk for financial liability designed at FVPL. Then pag sa PFRS naman for SMEs is ito yung mga following component. First is yung changes in revaluation surplus, some actual gain and loss, some gains and loss arise from translating to financial statement of foreign operation. Then some changes in fair value and hedging instrument. So unrealized gain and loss on FVOCI are not included because FRCI is classification is unavailable for SME. Next naman is option 2, option not to present statement of changes in equity, or option to present a statement of income and retained earnings. So pag full PFRS is required siya na mag-present ng statement of changes in equity, for general purpose of financial statement. So wala siyang exemption or mandatory talaga siya na ipipresent. So dito kasama yung pag-present ng statement of income and retained earnings. So pag PFRS naman, the PFRS for small size medium entities is allow na baguhin or mag-present ng single statement of income and retained earnings if only may pagbabago sa profit or loss, dividend paid, correction of prior period errors, or changing in accounting. So under the non-current asset held for sale, pag full PFRS, under sa PFRS 5, non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operation entity shall classified as non-current asset of disposal if yung property is planned to sell in the future. Then it can be classified as asset held for sale or asset held for distribution when giving property to dividends. While pag under PFRS naman for small medium size entities, walang classification na nangyayari through non-current asset held for sale. So normally siya nire-record through the book. Sa disclosure of operating segment information and earning per share. So pag full PFRS, yung PFRS 8 is nire-required niya na ipakita yung different operating business segments. While yung yung PAS 33 naman is nire-required niya yung mga companies na i-disclose yung earning per share sa income statement. While pag PFRS naman for small and medium-sized entities, hindi siya required na mag-disclose ng earning per share or business segments. Kasi hindi siya listed company. Pero if ever na magdi-disclose sila is dapat ipapakita nila yung pag-present or kung paano prepare yung earning per share and yung business segment. Next naman is interim financial statement. So, under na to is merong condensed financial statement, which is pag full PFRS, under sa PAS 34, yung interim financial report is guides for preparation ng condensed financial statement sa interim period. Like yung quarterly reports. Then, pag PFRS naman sa small and medium size entities is hindi sila included sa guidance or sa preparation ng condensed financial statement for interim periods. So, under financial statement naman sa classification of financial statement, pag full PFRS, yung financial instrument is classified siya as many categories like amortized cost, FBOC, which is mandatory, yung FBOC na for election, then FBPL for both business model and cash flow characteristic ng financial instrument. While pag PFRS naman for small and medium sized entities, under neto is meron lang two classification, which is yung basic and non-basic. So pag basic financial instrument, hindi siya more complex, such as receivable lang siya and normal loan. So usually min-measure siya through amortized cost, while pag non-basic naman is more complex siya and min-measure siya through FBPL or fair value through profit or loss. It can be determined without undue cost or effort, which permitted to be measured at less cost impairment. So, mas costly and mas kailangan ng effort pag non-basic financial instrument. Sa investment associate naman, so choices of accounting policy on investment in associate. So, under sa PAS 28, investment in associate and joint venture is required na gumamit ng equity method in accounting for associate investment. While under sa PAS 27 naman, or separate financial statement, investment in associate are accounted for the separate financial statement, either sa at cost, equity method, or PFRS 9 or fair value. So, under naman sa PFRS for small and medium sized entities is same lang siya na merong choices na gamitin kung cost model or equity and fair value method. Mas simpler or mas madali lang siya kumpara sa full PFRS. Sa under of investment associate ulit sa implicit goodwill on acquisition. So, under sa full PFRS, PAS 28, sinasabi na any goodwill related to associate is already included inside the carrying amount of the investment. So, it is not recorded separately, not amortized, and not tested for impairment on its own. Instead, the entire investment in associate is assessed for impairment as one asset. So, pag PFRS naman sa small and medium size entities, yung treatment niya is different. So, the excess cost of the investment over the investor share is net fair value of the associate, and identifiable siya as asset and liabilities recorded to the goodwill. So, amortize over its useful life. Then, hindi siya na-determined or hindi siya reliable for the management na ma-estimate through within 10 years. Naman is different reporting period. So, pag full PFRS, under sa PAS 28, the difference between the end of reporting period of associate and that investor shall not exceed 3 months. So, ibig sabihin, yung reporting period daw ng associate and ng investor is hindi lalagpas sa 3 months. So, pag PFRS naman for small and medium size entities is hindi siya required or walang rules na different from investment associate or sa investors. Sa agricultural naman or bearer plants is pag full PFRS, yung bearer plants is excluded sa PAS 41 or hindi siya kasama sa agriculture if yung plants or trees is nagpo-produce or nagbibigay ng production sa companies. So instead na agricultural is nilalagay siya sa or nare-record siya as property, plant, and equipment. So, pag PFRS for small, medium-sized entities is walang specific guidelines para sa barrier plants. So, sa measurement naman ng agriculture under sa full PFRS or PAS 1, biological asset is generally measured at fair value less cost to sell. And ina-assume siya na yung fair value is ma-measure reliably. Then, if only fair value cannot be reliable, determined at initial recognition can be asset measured less depreciation and impairment. So, ibig sabihin lang nun, if yung fair value is not reliable, yung recognition ng asset is i-measure through depreciation and impairment loss. Then, pag under sa PFRS naman for small and medium size entities, yung biological asset is measured siya sa fair value less cost to sell. If only na determined without undue cost or effort. So, if yung fair value din is not reliable and hindi ma-determined, yung asset is measured din sa accumulated depreciation and impairment loss. So, basically, parang same lang siya ng recognition or measurement. So, intangible asset naman other than goodwill. So, accounting for research and development. So, pag full PFRS, research cost is always expense. But, yung development cost, it can be capitalized as intangible asset if na-meet niya yung criteria. So, pag PFRS naman for small and medium-sized entities, both development and research cost is always expense pag na-incurred. So, unless yung part ng cost of other asset, walang rules for capitalizing of development cost. Sa amortization naman ng intangible asset, under sa full PFRS, yung intangible asset na may finite life or finite useful life lang yung ina-amortize. While pag indefinite yung useful life niya is hindi siya ina-amortize. But instead, tinitest siya sa impairment and less annually. Pag PFRS naman sa small and medium-sized entities, yung all intangible asset is considered as merong finite useful life. So, ibig sabihin, hindi siya nag-exceed sa legal life or yung management is estimated siya na hindi mag-exceed ng 10 years. Next naman is annual review of depreciation, amortization method, useful life, and residual value. So, pag full PFRS, required yung entity na i-review yung lahat ng amortization method, depreciation, useful life, and residual value ng PPE or intangible asset. So, any changes sa accounting is treated as changes in accounting estimate. So, pag PFRS naman for small and medium-sized entities, entity shall review lahat ng methods ng depreciation or amortization if only may indicator na may pagbabago dun sa occurrence ng annual reporting date. Next naman is accounting for goodwill, yung amortization of goodwill arising from business combination. So, under sa PAS 36, yung goodwill from business combination is hindi ina-amortize but tinetest for impairment at least annually. So, pag PFRS naman for small and medium-sized entities, yung goodwill is ina-amortize over sa estimated useful life nito. Then, nire-reduce yung impairment loss. So, if yung useful life is hindi madidetermine, yung management is pwede lang i-estimate pero hindi lalagpas sa 10 years. Next naman is government grants. So, classification and recognition ng government grants. So, under sa full PFRS, yung government grants is classified either grants related to asset or grants related to income. And accounted siya accordingly. Pag under PFRS naman for SMEs, government grant are recognized based sa condition. So if there's no performance condition, the grant is recognized as income when receivable. So if our performance condition naman, may performance condition naman, yung income is recognized only pag na-met niya yung conditions. So, grants received before the meeting of the criteria are recorded as liability. So, ibig sabihin, if hindi niya na-meet yung criteria is recorded siya as liability, not a receivables. Sa measurement naman ng government grants. So, pag full PFRS, under sa PAS 20, yung monetary grants are measured at amount of cash received, the fair value of amount receivable, the carrying amount of loan payable to the government for which repayment is forgiven, or yung discount loan payable to government at below market value or below market rate of interest. So, while pag non-monetary grants naman like land or other resource is measured through fair value of non-monetary asset received, and yung alternative is nominal amount or zero plus direct cost incurred by preparing the assets. So, pag PFRS naman for small and medium-sized entities, government grants are measured at fair value of asset receivables. So, no alternative measurement basis pag SMEs. Next naman is borrowing cost. Yung core principle niya is yung borrowing cost that directly related sa acquisition, construction, and production of qualifying asset is capitalized as asset cost, and all the borrowing cost is expense immediately. So, pag full PFRS yon. So, pag PFRS naman for small medium-sized entities, lahat ng borrowing cost is expense when they incurred. Ganun lang yung PFRS for small size entities. Sa borrowing cost naman, yung impairment of asset, pag full PFRS under sa PAS 36, impairment of asset when computing for value in use, cash flow projection shall cover maximum of 5 years unless a longer period can be justified. So, cash flow projection beyond the 5 years limit shall be extrapolated. Pag PFRS naman for small medium-sized entity, the PFRS for SMS does not state a specific time limit before extrapolation is required. So, under PFRS for SMEs, the entity may wish extrapolated cash flow projection behind the period covered by most recent budget. So, ibig sabihin lang nun is walang specific period time pag sa PFRS of small medium-sized entity, while pag full PFRS is meron siyang maximum period limit na 5 years. Pero pwede siyang ma-extend if ma-justify niya yung longer period na yun. Next na is employee benefits. Yung defined ng contribution plan. So, pag full PFRS, yung obligation is measured through undiscount basis. So, exempt pag Yung due is within 12 months after the ending period in which yung employee is na-render na yung service. So, in that case, they are discounted. So, pag PFRS for small and medium-sized entities, yung obligation under sa contribution is hindi nagiging discounted ever since. Sa measurement naman ng defined benefit liability, pag full PFRS under sa PAS 19, required siya na gumamit ng projected unit credit method when measuring the obligation. Pag sa PFRS naman for SMEs, the projected unit credit method is ginagamit lang if only yung entity is walang undue cost or efforts. Sa leases naman, accounting for leases by leases. Pag full PFRS is more focus siya sa asset and liabilities, while pag PFRS for small and medium-sized entities is from traditional leases or sa finance or operating leases siya nakafocus. So, yun lang yung pinagkaiba nila. Pag full PFRS sa leases is more on asset and liability, while pag small and medium-sized entities naman ng PFRS is sa operating and financing leases. Sa sale and leaseback naman, pag full PFRS, measure the right of use of asset arise from leaseback at for proportion of the previous carrying amount of the asset that relates to the right of use retained by seller's leases, and recognize only the amount of any gain or loss that related sa right transfer to the buyer. So, ibig sabihin lang nun is yung measurement ng asset is based from leaseback or yung portion ng previous carrying amount ng asset na yon. So, yung right of use na retained naman is from seller's leases. Then, yung recognize naman ng amount ng any gain or loss na related lang sa transfer ng buyer or yung lessor. Pag PFRS naman sa small and medium-sized entities, differ any gain from the sale and amortizes over the lease term. Recognize any loss from the sales. So, ibig sabihin lang nun is from the sale, yung different and yung amortize is nare-recognize immediately. Declaration of dividend naman after reporting period. So, pag full PFRS, dividend declared after the reporting period but before the financial statement are authorized for issue are not recognized but disclosed only. So, ibig sabihin lang nun is yung declaration ng dividend is hindi siya nare-recognize but dinidisclose lang. Pag PFRS naman for small and medium-sized entities, yung dividends is dinideclare after ng reporting period, which is presented siya sa separate component of retained earnings at the ending of reporting period. Lastly, yung related party disclosure. Key management personnel compensation. So, under sa PAS 34, related party disclosures on entities is required to disclose key management personnel compensation in total and each of the categories. So, first is yung short-term employee benefits, post-employee benefits, other long-term benefits, termination benefits, and share-based payment. Yun yung sa full PFRS. Pag PFRS for small and medium-sized entities, under sa PFRS for SMEs, yung entity is required na i-disclose lang yung key management personnel in total. So, generally siya i-disclose. Unlike sa full PFRS na may categories.